Why do we wake up some mornings and the day already feels lost? What is that heavy fog of procrastination? That quiet internal noise that stops us from doing the one thing we know we need to do? It is a feeling of chaos, a weight, a sense of being pulled ever so slightly back into the void, back into the scroll, back into the comfort of nothing. We've all felt it. That moment, perhaps at 3 a.m., when the silence of the house is louder than any alarm, and you feel a genuine, primordial dread. A dread that the next day will just be a repeat of the last. A dread that the chaos is winning. Thousands of years ago, the ancient Egyptians, a civilization obsessed with order, structure, and eternity, looked at this exact feeling. They did not dismiss it as a bad day or feeling lazy. They understood it was the most powerful and dangerous force in the cosmos. They personified it. They gave it a name. They called it Apep. And the battle against this force, this great serpent of primordial chaos, was not a minor story. It was the story. It was a brutal psychological war that their chief deity, Ra, the god of the sun and creation, had to fight every single night just to bring back the dawn. Welcome to Hindsight Lore. We believe that humanity's oldest stories are not fables. They are blueprints. And the myth of Ra and Apep is not a story about the sun. It is a detailed, sophisticated psychological manual for winning the daily battle against our own inner entropy. So, we must ask the question our ancestors asked. What if the sunrise isn't a promise, but a victory? And what if the Egyptians left us the battle plan? To understand the enemy, we must first understand the battlefield. In our modern, Western-influenced world, we are conditioned to see cosmic conflict through one lens: good versus evil. It is a moral binary. The ancient Egyptians, like the Norse we have explored before, saw a different war, a more fundamental one. The war was not between good and evil. It was between order and chaos. The Egyptian word for this order was Ma'at. Ma'at is one of the most beautiful concepts in human history. It is not just order in the sense of tidiness. It is the underlying divine principle of the universe. It is truth, justice, balance, harmony, and righteousness, all woven into a single concept. Ma'at was the cosmic structure that made life possible. The pharaoh's primary job was not to conquer, but to uphold Ma'at. The judge's job was to administer Ma'at. The common person's job was to live in Ma'at. But here is the critical lesson. Ma'at was not the default state of the universe. It was not a given. Ma'at was an achievement. It was a delicate, precious structure that had been wrested from the void. It was a garden, constantly under threat from the wilderness. It was a fortress, besieged on all sides. It required active, conscious, daily maintenance, or it would collapse. And what was the force trying to tear it down? The Egyptians called it Isfet, chaos. Isfet is not evil in the way we think of it. It is not a moral position. It is an anti-position. Isfet is the fundamental tendency of all things to decay. It is entropy. It is the pull towards the unmade, the unstructured, the meaningless, the void. If Ma'at is the effort it takes to build a civilization, Isfet is the inevitable rot that pulls the stones back into the sand. If Ma'at is the focus required to write a book, Isfet is the 1,000 distractions that pull your mind apart. Ma'at is the human attempt to impose structure and meaning onto the universe. Isfet is the universe's indifferent reply. Why bother? And this great cosmic force of Isfet, this active, hungry chaos, had an avatar, a physical embodiment, a serpent of unimaginable size, born in the darkness before creation. A creature whose only purpose was not to rule, not to conquer, but to you and make. His name was Apep. Let us be very clear about who this enemy is. In the Christian framework, the devil is a fallen angel who rebels against God. He has a motive, pride, envy. He wants to rule. Apep is infinitely more terrifying. Apep does not want to rule. He wants to annihilate, He is not a character in the story of creation. He is the antagonist of creation itself. The myths say he was born from the primordial chaos before Ra, the sun god, ever emerged. He is the original, eternal darkness. His sole function, his only desire, is to swallow the sun god Ra and drag the cosmos back into the black, silent, undifferentiated state from which it came. He is the personification of the universe's delete button. This is not a monster. This is a psychological portrait of our deepest internal enemy. Apep is the voice of entropy in our own minds. He is the force that whispers, "Just quit, it doesn't matter." He is the overwhelming fog of depression that makes getting out of bed feel like a Herculean task. He is the addictive impulse that whispers, "Just one more," knowing it will destroy the life you are trying to build. He is the gravitational pull of the infinite scroll, a digital, chaotic void that promises everything but delivers nothing, swallowing your time, your focus, and your will. Apep is not an event. He is not a crisis. He is a condition. He is the relentless, daily, hourly pressure that seeks to unmake your goals, your discipline, and your sense of self. And the Egyptians understood this. They knew this battle was not a grand, singular war that could be won once. It was a war that had to be won every single day, or rather, every single night. According to Egyptian cosmology, at the end of every day, as the sun set in the west, the sun god Ra did not rest. He began his most perilous journey. He stepped from his day boat, the Manjet, onto his night boat, the Mesektet, a vessel known as the Barquet of a Million Years. This boat would carry him through the Duat, the Egyptian underworld. The Duat was a terrifying landscape of 12 hours, or 12 gates, a realm of fire, judgment, and darkness. And in its deepest, darkest sector, Apep was waiting. Every single night, the serpent of chaos would rise. He would unleash his power against the small vessel carrying the light of the world. The myths describe his attacks with visceral, psychological terror. Apep didn't just attack the boat, he attacked the environment. He would try to swallow the river of the underworld, stranding Ra's boat on a sandbank. This is the very essence of burnout. It's the feeling when your river of motivation and energy simply dries up, leaving you stranded, immobile, and vulnerable. Apep would also unleash a hypnotic gaze, a stare so powerful it could paralyze the gods themselves, lulling them into a state of helplessness. This is the paralysis of analysis paralysis. It is the hypnotic stare of the blank page, the full inbox, the overwhelming list of tasks. You are not defeated, you are frozen, charmed into inaction by the sheer scale of the chaos before you. And finally, Apep would unleash a disorienting roar, a sound so powerful it confused the gods and shook the underworld to its foundations. This is the sound of our modern world. The constant notifications, the 24-hour news cycle, the endless demands for our attention. It is a roar of distraction designed to make us lose our bearings, to forget our purpose, and to be swallowed by the noise. This was the nightly battle, not a simple fight, but a complex psychological assault. And Ra, the great god of creation, could not win it alone. This brings us to the core of the Hindsight lore. The Egyptians didn't just define the problem, they engineered the solution. The Mesektet, the night boat, was not just a vehicle, it was a system. When you are facing a force as total and as primal as Apep, you cannot fight it with simple willpower. Willpower breaks, willpower gets tired, you must fight it with a system. Ra's boat was a floating fortress crewed by a specialized team of deities. And in analyzing this crew, we find the three-part strategy for defeating our own daily chaos. Strategy 1, the assembled system. The power of tools Ra was not alone. He was surrounded by other gods, each with a specific function. Thoth, the god of wisdom, was there. Horus, the god of vigilance, was there. Other gods representing perception, strength, and magic were all present. This is the first lesson. You cannot defeat your Apep on your own. You must assemble your own night boat. Your boat is your environment, your habits, your tools. If your Apep is the chaos of the digital world, your crew is the app blocker on your phone. It is the calendar that structures your day. It is the notebook where you define your goals. Ra knew he would be attacked, so he built a system in advance. He did not wait to feel motivated to fight the serpent. He was carried into battle by a system he had already built. This is the difference between an amateur and a professional. The amateur waits for the feeling of inspiration. The professional builds a boat, a system of discipline that carries them through the darkness, especially when they don't feel inspired. Your system, your predefined habits, is the crew that fights for you when your own willpower fails. Strategy 2, the role of Set, the weaponization of aggression. This is the most brilliant, complex, and profound part of the entire myth. Who was the god who stood at the prow of the boat? Who was the one who actually struck the killing blow? It was not Ra. It was not Thoth, the god of wisdom. It was Set, the god of chaos, violence, and the Red Desert. The god who, in another story, famously murdered his own brother, Osiris, and plunged Egypt into civil war. Set was the villain of Egypt's other great myth. He was an outcast, a force of brutal, disruptive chaos. And this is the god that Ra chose to be his primary defender. Every night, it was Set who stood at the prow, holding a divine spear. And as Apep rose to attack, it was Set who plunged that spear into the serpent, driving him back. The psychological genius of this is staggering. The Egyptians understood that you cannot fight primordial, destructive chaos with pure passive order, Mot, alone. Pure order is brittle. It can be shattered. To defeat chaos, you must use a different kind of chaos. Set represents controlled chaos. He is aggression, but weaponized. He is fury, but focused. He is the violent, red part of our nature, channeled toward a single purpose. Your Apep is the part of you that whispers, "It doesn't matter, just sleep in." It is a passive, numbing, nihilistic force. You cannot defeat this voice with gentle logic. You cannot ma'at your way out of it. You must summon your Set. Your Set is the part of you that gets angry. It's the voice that roars. No, enough. I will not be this person. I will not waste another day. It is the aggression to delete the app. The ruthlessness to say no to a distraction. The violence to kill the bad habit. We are often taught to suppress our Set, to suppress our anger, our aggression, our dark side. But the Egyptians knew that this dark side, when left untamed, murders its brother. But when recruited, when given a job and a spear, it becomes the only force strong enough to protect your highest self. You must be willing to summon the villain inside you to protect the hero. Strategy 3, the power of Heka, the magic of narrative. The final weapon used against Apep was not physical. It was Heka, the Egyptian concept of magic. Heka was not about waving a wand. It was the power of words and intention. It was the divine energy of creation. The gods used Heka to bind Apep, to cast spells that weakened him. Priests on Earth would perform rituals, writing Apep's name on papyrus and then burning it, to magically destroy him in the underworld. This is the power of narrative and self-affirmation. When you are spiraling into chaos, your internal narrative is usually one of self-attack. I'm lazy. I'm a failure. I have no discipline. This narrative feeds Apep. The strategy of Heka is to seize the narrative. It is the conscious, deliberate act of defining your reality. It is the magic of a to-do list, writing down the chaotic tasks and binding them to paper. It is the ritual of a daily journal. It is the affirmation. I am a person who finishes what I start. This is not a lie. it is a command. It is you, as a priest of your own mind, performing the Heka ritual. You are telling your subconscious what the reality is. You are casting the spell that binds the serpent. Your discipline is your system. Your aggression is your spear. And your self-talk is your magic. This, then, is the battle plan. Every night, Ra fought. He used his system, he channeled his aggression, and he spoke his reality into being. And as he passed the 12th gate, victorious, he was reborn in the east as the morning sun. The sunrise was a symbol of his victory, a sign to all of humanity that Ma'at had been preserved for one more day. This ancient myth is a perfect metaphor for our modern lives. We too are on a barquet of 1,000,000 years. We are not just living day to day. We are on a long, continuous journey. And every single night, we face our own Apep. Our Apep is the burnout from work. It's the chaos of our unanswered emails. It's the dopamine-fueled distraction of our phones. Our sunrise is the feeling of waking up with clarity, purpose, and energy. And the myth teaches us, with chilling clarity, that this sunrise is not guaranteed. If you want to bring back your own dawn, you must fight the nightly war. This means you must build your boat. Your night boat is your evening routine. What you do in the 2 hours before bed determines whether you wake up as Ra or whether you wake up already defeated. Is your boat crewed with tools, a book, a journal, a plan for tomorrow? Or is it empty, leaving you defenseless against the hypnotic gaze of the screen? This means you must be willing to summon your set. You must find that red energy, that sacred anger, to be ruthless with your own distractions. The part of you that says, stop, and means it. That focused aggression is not your enemy. It is your guardian. And this means you must practice your Heka. You must define your narrative. You must, before you sleep, declare what tomorrow will be. Write down your one most important task. Cast the spell that will guide your morning. The Egyptians believed that if Ra ever failed, even for one night, the sun would not rise. The world would end. What they were teaching us is that order and discipline, progress, is not a permanent state. It is not something you have. It is something you do. It is a daily practice. It is a relentless, nightly, thankless war against the fundamental, chaotic nature of the universe itself. The sunrise is not a gift. It is an achievement. And so, this ancient story leaves us with a lingering question, one that echoes from the duat into our own bedrooms. When the sun sets on your day and your boat begins its journey into the dark, have you built a system to carry you? Are you willing to summon the aggression needed to fight? And what is the magic you will practice to ensure that you are the one who brings back the dawn?